Hello, hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm wonderful. Let me kick this off. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Live Nation Urban Presents Meet the Execs. I'm your host, Brandon Pankey, and today, just a phenomenal person. I've known her for years. She is the CEO and founder of Heads Music, Miss Madeline Nelson. Madeline, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. So
Nah,
excited.
thank you. Thank you. So what we do, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know the type of schedule that you have, and what we seriously, and what we do with every guest is just really walk through your journey in the music industry, where you started to get to become the CEO and founder of a really, really phenomenal indie label. So please take it away.
Oh man. So if I go back to where I started, everybody's gonna know how old I am. But
And
we'll do it.
you don't need to let everybody know you're 30, 29, 30. Don't worry about it.
We'll do it. Sean might Brandon, you hear me call you Sean?
I heard it. Yeah.
Because y'all like are almost one and the same to me, which is an amazing compliment to both of you. Um, I started at it's Showtime at the Apollo.
Okay.
It was an amazing time when the artists that we were bringing on were the Fugees, everyone from the Bad Boy Camp, Blackstreet, Mary J. Blige, like just like this amazing, amazing world of artists that we were booking on the show. And because I was working as a junior booker and then a booker, I was working with all the labels. And the more I understood the inner workings at the labels and why they were booking artists on the TV show and what the promotion and marketing schemes looked like, the more I wanted to be in the actual business of music.
Gotcha.
And my move from Showtime at the Apollo to the business of music came with managing Blackstreet.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah. Just as they were going to work on another level,
Mm-hmm.
which was the album that had Don't Leave and No Diggity.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the joy of managing the group, working with the group during that time
Mm-hmm.
to the tune of more sales than you ever could imagine for an R&B group back then.
Right.
So that was an amazing time and like super early in my career, like still in my 20s
Mm-hmm.
when I was doing that. Um, Past that, I was doing a bunch of consulting, and then I went to work at a place that gave me, it was the first place that I want to say I started to earn like a master's degree in the business of music. And that was, I went to work for Steve Stout at Translation.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, there's one person that taught me more than Steve,
Mm-hmm.
and that was Doug Morris when I eventually landed at Sony. Working with Jimmy Iovine with Blackstreet was a huge learning curve, but working with Steve Stout was a major learning curve. Um, and I later eventually landed at Sony Music as a senior vice president, and that is where I really got what I call a master's degree in the music business because I got to work across all three labels. I got to work on first albums on J. Cole, Al Varner, A$AP Rocky, Willow Smith, like amazing artists. And but it was also there at Sony as a senior vice president that someone told me the highest I could ever go at a major would be executive vice president because women can't be CEOs
Mm.
at major labels. And still now we've only got one.
Right.
Um, and it was during that conversation that I made the decision. And I literally left and went and called Damian Granderson was my lawyer at the time. And I called Damian and said, I want to start my own company.
Mm.
And at the time he explained to me I really couldn't because of my contract. And my response was, no, I can start it. I just can't run it yet.
Right.
So that's what we did. Eventually, I was no longer at Sony and I could run it, but that's how I came to having my own indie label, well, now we call it a music company because it's an indie label, it's a distribution company, and I'm pretty sure I'm the first woman that full out owns a distribution company.
Amazing.
It's a publishing company, and it is also a management company. And it is staffed fully by women.
That's amazing. That's,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
proud of that.
awesome. So let me ask, because you talk about being the only woman that has a distribution company. Why is distribution so important in this industry?
You know, it's important because distribution means real ownership. That's when, so whether it's for the artist or the person who is distributing the music, that's the real ownership. And so what I wanted to do was start a part of the business where I, as a woman and as a Black woman, could actually own master recordings and be the last stop when somebody is going to license music.
Yep.
But I also wanted to structure the kinds of deals with artists where they are a majority owner in their master. So if you are signed to my label side, you're a 55% owner of your master. If you're coming through distribution, you're 100% owner of your master as the artist. So I really wanted to be part of something, build something where I could work with artists on what ownership really means.
Right.
And I, just as far as the business side of it is concerned, want to be able to have an engine that gives options that I'm seeing a lot of the distribution engines don't give. So we particularly are very much about education. We actually send best practices guides out to our artists. The artists that distribute through us, we give them best practice guides. I've not seen a distribution company do that, but we do it. We do it, and we do it for their labels too.
Why do you do that?
Because I think it's important, because when I was managing, when I was at a major, what I never saw was a real concerted effort to educating artists. I never saw that. I didn't see anybody telling artists how to have ownership. I didn't see anybody explaining to artists why you need to register with Sound Exchange, why and how to do your copyrights. What are the best practices on every social media platform? We actually send them a checklist. A checklist. Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? On across every platform. So everything that we learn when we get to be on a call with Spotify, we bring it back to the artist. Did you know this? Did you do this? This is what you need to be doing with your profile. Here's ways that you can increase your followers. Do you know it's more important to increase your followers than anything else? Because then when the release radar comes out for each of those people, they're going to see that you have a new release. These are things that nobody's telling artists. So at Heads Music, that's what we do. That's what sets us apart, is going to continue to set us apart.
Phenomenal. That's phenomenal. So what are the differences between having an independent music company versus being within a Sony Music? You know, I know there are some key differences that, yeah, your face says it. What are the differences?
There's a lot of differences. So I go back to ownership is a big difference. When, you know, you are an artist signed at a major, depending on how much leverage you have when you get signed, you only own a super small percentage of your master. And again, master recording rights are so important. When you're making music that people potentially want to license, and when you, the artist, are the person that they have to come to license that, and so for me, I sign off license clearances all the time for one of the artists that I manage named Wyclef. And when I tell you those advances are really good, really nice. So now when you're an artist and you own the master and somebody wants to license your song and they only have to come to you,
right,
that advance goes to you, not 5% of that advance, not 10% of that advance, but all of it comes to you. So you have ownership. So ownership is the biggest difference. Some differences that will cause people to sign to a major and not an indie is that there's going to be a bigger budget for your marketing and your promotion and a full-on team behind you. And listen, I'm all for that. Sometimes you can't beat getting a team behind the record and a budget behind it. But, you know, what also happens is you then take an advance, and that advance is recoupable. And from what I've seen artists who signed contracts in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are just recouping now in like 2019, 2020, and some still aren't recouped.
Matt,
So,
1 second, just for people that don't understand, what does it mean when you say an advance is recoupable?
so say I'm artist A and I sign with a major,
Mm-hmm.
and in order to sign me, they give me $100.
Mm-hmm.
Like, here you go, Madeline. This is $100 for you to sign to us. And by the way, we're going to give you a marketing budget also of $100. So now you've got your advance that comes to your pocket, and then you've got your marketing budget that doesn't go to your pocket. It gets used to promote your music. Well, that is all recoupable to you. You have to pay all of that money back through your record sales before you actually make any money off of your record. So now not only do you only own a small percentage of your master recording, but you also have to pay that $200 back, and in most cases it's actually 200,000 or more,
Right.
back before you ever make any money on your record.
Wow. I want to talk about sort of the antiquated thinking that you brought up earlier on. You were told at Sony that you had hit a glass ceiling. You would not
Yeah.
be hired in an executive vice president. To be quite honest, you, Ethiopia, you know, I know Sylvia's made it to a certain level, but, you know,
Yeah.
Nicole at Interscope, some of the brightest minds in this music industry are absolutely women. Beyond
Yes.
absolutely black.
Yes.
Tell me why, like, why is that still the thinking? Why is there still so much patriarchy in this industry when you guys are absolutely killing it?
Well, and first, let me say something about Ethiopia, Nicole. Ethiopia is like, she is goals upon goals upon goals for the way she's navigated the major label system. I'm so proud of her, and we are all so proud of her. Um, I'll tell you this. Let me tell you what I knew when this was said to me. I knew this 100%. This was somebody who was mentoring me, somebody who cared what happened to me. I knew that he was not saying this with not one single ounce of malice.
Right.
I knew that he was telling me just simply what he believed to be true. He was
Mhm.
telling me what he knew, what he had seen over his 40-something years in the business. So yet it is an antiquated way of thinking. It has only started to shift, and it still hasn't shifted enough. Honestly, in the last, I'm not even going to say 10 years,
Mhm.
Brandon, only maybe in the last 5 years has it started to shift. That it just was what it was. That was the reality. That's how they thought. And nobody was thinking to address things any differently. Like, nobody was taking it upon themselves. It's kind of like what's happening right now since George Floyd's death. It's like, if something that wasn't affecting them,
Mhm.
that they just weren't made to pay attention to, so nobody was doing anything about it.
Sure, sure. So I'm listening to this conversation. You know, you're talking about control, you're talking about ownership. I want to be Madeline Nelson. What are those steps to take to form, you know, a music company or to start my own business in this industry, whether it's just, you know, on the distribution side or just publishing or just management, not even everything, the conglomerate that you're building.
Yeah. Well, so I got a great education over time. That's the first thing. However, there was much more education that I needed to get. So I would say the first thing, the number one thing, is educate yourself. Understand publishing, understand rights, mechanical rights, understand royalties, understand what it takes to actually license music and put that music out. So that's the first thing, is educate yourself, and then really know what you're doing and really know what your offerings are going to be. And the next thing is then understand business. So, you know, I had incorporated while I was still at Sony, and you know, started the business. But there was so much I did not understand. I didn't even know what kind of company I should be. Should I be a corporation? Should I be an LLC? what are the tax ramifications of which of those I would become. So that's another piece of it, is educate yourself about business, understand what kind of business you should become,
Mhm.
especially for tax purposes when you're in our industry, because then you need to understand the kinds of things that you could write off. And you need to be the right kind of business in order to qualify to write certain of those things off. Because when it comes to touring and things like that. So I had to learn those things as well. So behind those two things, educating yourself about the music business itself and educating yourself then about business, make sure that you got people you want to work with on the artist side, but then also on your business side. And so, and for example, when I started knowing you,
Mhm.
working with Sean, you guys, you still work together.
Right.
Still, it's so that means there has to be a certain level of trust in one another's capabilities and one another's know-how, you know. So as much as you can, try to start your business that way, working with people that you can see yourself genuinely working with 10 years down the road, even 20 years down the road, that you share the same thought process about music and about the business. That's really important.
Absolutely. What do we have to look forward to from Heads Music in the near future?
Oh man. So we have four releases actually coming out next Friday. So it's the most releases we put out at one time. And it's like this really interesting batch of artists. We have an artist from Norway, a young woman named Ida. She's only 20 years old. And you would not expect on a platform like Triller
Hmm.
that a young singer, pop singer from Norway, she has racked up 300,000 views on a Triller video in a week's time. It's crazy. So her release is coming soon. And then we have anybody watching that knows anything about battle rap. There's Arsenal the Rebel.
Hmm.
Arsenal is through our distribution company. He's not signed to the label. So we've got a single that we distributed with Arsenal that's coming out. And then we've got a young Latinx artist, Jeremy Torres, who's coming next week. Jeremy's amazing. Clive Davis has actually assisted us in the grooming of Jeremy Torres. So you know that he is something really special. And then we've got a young woman, Hannah Egan, who is from Bermuda. Actually, everybody we have is like kind of from outside the US right now on this round. But really what you can expect is volumes of music releasing both through the label and the
Hmm.
distribution platform. And then from Wyclef, who is with us on the management side, we've
Yeah.
got a podcast coming in August I'm really excited about. And he is basically, he's scoring a ton of film and TV right now. And so I'm really excited about watching, I call it his Quincy Jones years,
Yeah.
watching that transition in his career. Um, Podcast is going to be amazing. Like we just filmed Shaq, Lena Waithe, and Clive Davis all in the same day for one episode. So that's going to be sick. So, and it's going to be that every episode, three people every episode, but like none that you would expect to be mashed up together.
So that's
So
dope.
those are the things.
Well, no, well, thank you. Last question for you. What would you recommend to the young women who want to be in this industry and want to thrive in this industry?
I would recommend pushing really hard to do internships.
Mhm.
It's over the 6 years that I've been in business. The young women who have interned for me have landed at some amazing places. There are two at Sony Music. There's one at Warner. There's one at Rob Report. They're like all over the industry doing amazing things. Internships are important. Don't be afraid to start at ground zero. Don't be afraid to even start in the mailroom. Um, do what you have to do to get your foot in the door, and then just show them what you've got, and learn as much as you can before you come in. Like pay attention to what's happening. Understand that all the education is not going to happen in school. So
Yeah.
so the internships are important.
Cool. Well, Madeline, thank you for making time and being a part of Meet the Execs this week. We sincerely appreciate it. You dropped a lot of knowledge, and I hope everyone was listening. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Brandon.
Absolutely. This was another episode of Live Nation Urban Presents Meet the Execs with our very, very special guest, Madeline Nelson. Thank you, everyone, and take care. Thanks again, Maddie.
Bye.